Hey, how's everybody doing out there, Brother Phil? I hope y'all having a good Sunday night. Just wanted to come on here and share a word with you guys. It's been a while since I've been on here. I was going to title the video "Where Have I Been," but um, I decided to. Um, I decided to title it "Where are we at?" Or are we there yet? Rather. Um, so, are we there yet? Well, I'm gonna just chit chat with you today. Personally, I know we're close. If anybody says we got a long time or 10 years or whatever, they must be crazy. Um, we're very close to the time um, that was written about hundreds, well, thousands of years ago. And we are definitely seeing the signs. Um, we're seeing more signs every day that Jesus is coming back soon. Um, so there's a lot of things that I wanted to bring up, but it's mostly personal. I'm trying to get out of the mentality of complaining about everything that that you see going to happen, because it's going to happen. I mean, that things are going to be crazy. You see the wars and you see the rumors of wars, and you see the economy, it's shaky. You see morality in the balance, or out of balance, rather. I mean, you see things happening where you just shake your head, but us Bible prophecy people, I mean, we should know. We still end up getting frustrated because we're just wondering why things are so half butt backwards. I was talking to a guy at my work, and before I was picking up a order to drop off to somebody's house. He was saying key words that I don't know if he meant what I meant, but he was saying things like, "Why is things that are, you know, things are backwards?" And he was using we were both talking in the conversation. He was using the conversation. He said, "Somebody break into your house, and you can't do anything about it. I mean, you can't shoot them. You get in trouble. You don't want to go to jail for defending your own house." And he was saying that that's not fair. If somebody get into your house, which one's the criminal? And some states, like the state I live in, they might treat you like the criminal because you're defending your house. Well, it's been like that for a while. I'm not saying that's something new, but it's still half but backwards, and it's what we got going on now. You got wrong is right and right is wrong. You got things that seems to be wrong and should be wrong. And if you really face morality, I mean, we're looking at something that was in 1972, voted in 1973, and it was re-voted on again by the Supreme Court in 2022. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And that's completely backwards. And that's 50 some years ago. So society's not just been backwards now, it's been backwards a while. It's just people been in the closet about things. Well, anyway, um, so getting to what's going on in Israel, Israel does have the right to defend themselves. If the things that happen in Israel, say Mexico, Canada, if those things happen to us, we'd be in an uproar. If you got a decent president, you're going to get some response. If most Mexico is doing something stupid, we're going to respond. And you saw what happened if somebody way clear across, we can consider Iraq or some terrorist organization ISIS, whatever, Al Qaeda, do something to us, we are going to respond, even if it takes us a year to build up. You know, we're going to respond. Just like we're going to get in the war. We're going to respond. So to ask Israel to have restraint, you notice there's no strong person over us when George Bush had to make the decision to go into Iraq. There's no big kahuna over us. It was just us making that decision. Well, it was the United Nations, but we didn't care because we had to defend our territory. So how is it that politicians can tell another country what to do? Doesn't make any sense. I like the memes, the cartoon memes that you have somebody like you have a guy like shaking a bumblebee's nest, and then the camera's kind of catching him do it, but at the same time he's pointing at Israel. He said they shook the nest. I mean, that might be a dumb illustration, but it's just that kind of. Listen, as a Christian, as a believer, that kind of stuff frustrates the heck out of me. God had to get a hold of me like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where I was looking at Infowars.com, and I was looking at, and I was, and even before that, when I'm not going to say the keywords, but when this last president got in office, you know how he got in office. He kind of, got in office not in a good way. I'm trying to make sure that the aneurysms don't catch me, but it was cheap, and that kind of stuff frustrates me. That the things like as far as the I live in, like I say, I live in a liberal state, and they're trying to give kids freedom. Like for instance, my wife is always ticked off that they're saying, "Oh, tell your kids they have to make an appointment for themselves." Oh, do they? Do they still live up under my roof, and they're my kids, and they came from my flesh and blood, and my come from the inside of my stomach, my stomach, my wife's stomach. She carried for 9 months. We gotta let them. They can't even wipe their own butt sometimes. Oh, I'm being funny. Of course they can wipe their butt, but you know what I'm saying. They can't take care of themselves. If they could, you wouldn't need parents. Of course, that's what they trying to turn the nanny state into. That kind of stuff frustrates me. I'm trying to be careful here. Just where everything's going. We even know the inside of the scoop. We know for you guys on here, and you're searching, the Bible and the scriptures, but you also searching the truth, and you know that some of the truth about the realities of your bank account. They can freeze your bank account. They can take everything you got. They can. I mean, they were doing it. They can do that now. They don't have to wait for the mark of the beast or anything like that. They can freeze your stuff now. They can make it so you can't access anything. And it's happened before. It's happening now. I was looking at a video of this young lady, and she was just saying they froze my account. I think she lived in Britain, though. I forgot. I watch a lot of videos, so please forgive me. But you couldn't. Man, that must be really upsetting. So anyway, I'm not deterred. I get it. I used to get upset about a lot of stuff. And now you find me trying to ignore a lot of things, but it doesn't work. I mean, you have to kind of look it in the face and then find out how to uh, perceive it in your mind. As a Christian, you know the outcome. You know what's going to happen. You know the beginning from the end. I mean, it's in the Bible. It's there, and God has already told us what's going to happen. And we just have to. I don't. I can't really say not get upset because we're gonna get upset. But just kind of know how to handle what you're gonna do with that anger. Are you gonna do something about it? Do the Lord's will. Go out, preach the gospel, and get your family members ready and get people ready that's in your contact, your sphere. Or are you gonna sit around and complain? Now, a lot of people say, well, having a conversation of conspiracies is an open door. Yeah, it is. But just be careful that your anger doesn't fester out and you get ticked off at this stuff, that's going on in the world. And then we start to sometimes get angry with God because we're, it's funny because it's weird because we understand Bible prophecy and we get it, but at the same time we don't get it. We don't understand why things are happening, you know. And sometimes you like to question. I more or less question the reason why they do things the way they do and why the general public believes what they're doing. That's what I do. I wonder. Like for instance, there's an event that happened uh, after the. I'm trying to be careful. After the president was, they use these key words. They're gonna catch you, but after the last election, that happened on Capitol Hill, um, and it was so goofy. How they got, they raided the Capitol, and then people were dead. Some people died, and to me, it just didn't look right. And when we look at things like that, that upsets me to see that kind of stuff. I've already had enough over it when a Republican. I'm more closer to Republican than Democrat, so don't read into this the wrong way. But I'm not a Republican either. I'm a Christian believer, but I'm more closer on this side of the scale. They have moderate, and they got Republican, left wing, right wing, and they got progressives and all this. I'm way over here. I'm off the scale over here. But I get really frustrated when I see gimmicks like that. It's just in the general public drink the Kool Aid. I know a lot of general public they don't believe that stuff, but at the same time they still kind of you gotta wiggle in to fit in type of thing. You gotta kind of pretend like it doesn't exist. Um, I've talked to people about 2001. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And I try to tell them like about this. World Trade Centers are pretty strong. They were built to withstand earthquakes and bombs and all this other stuff. And airplanes that hit, and this thing is about 1,000 feet in the air or more, and all of a sudden it just goes down like a Las Vegas building that's useless, and they don't need it anymore. Explosions. And that kind of, like I said, well, anyway, changing the subject. I'm sitting up here getting frustrated as I talk. Um, you can't, you no longer can talk the way you used to talk. 20, 15 something years ago, 20 something years ago, you can get on here and say a lot of the things, but now you can't say that stuff. You can't say anything. Anyway, what do I think is happening with Israel? Um, I think this war is going to last for about anywhere. And I don't know, some of y'all not going to like what I'm saying. I don't. The clock is running, and based off of Israel's politics, they were pretty patient. Way back in the movies. I mean, they have a lot of restraint. Uh, of course, Israel's getting their strings pulled by the same entities that the United States is. Um, you can't see them; they shadow, it's secret. But the United States is also hovering over Israel, and the United Nations is hovering over Israel, and you got the EU hovering over Israel. So the status quo, the people in their country, the hovering over them. So you can't really make those decisions that you want to make. I don't know how Israel ended up getting in that predicament, but I think God let them be in that predicament, so they would kind of stay in a specific position. So when he gets ready for Israel to finally destroy Damascus and take over land from their enemies, which is going to be Jordan and Saudi Arabia. You didn't know that, did you? This next war is going to produce land for Israel like you never known. And then, of course, we know in the millennial kingdom, there's going to be a lot of land that Israel would take itself. Not take, but the Messiah would give them the land. Sorry, I don't know what I said that for. Anyway, so we see that these organizations, colleges and professors and organizations and companies are starting to come against Israel. And we knew that was going to happen. I could have done plenty of shows about this area that we're in. I believe that this thing is going to go on for months, and I don't think it's going to go on for years. And I'm still looking, and I know some of y'all are not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'm still looking for the fall of a specific year. What I mean by fall is when the leaves come off the tree. I believe that one of these falls, if it's 2024, it's too late for us now on this year. I know some people are going to want to poke my eyeballs out, but I said this, I made a video before the Revelations 12 sign thing, and I said that it's going to be another year before it all sets up, because it just didn't look like it was ready, and it still doesn't look like it's ready. People get upset about Psalms 83 and they say, oh, it's a poem. Well, we'll figure it out. Hindsight is 2020, and when it all happens, we'll figure it out. And some people are gonna be so stubborn still, they're gonna see Psalms 83 as I think it's a poem, but I think it's a prophecy. The guy that wrote Psalms 83 was a prophet at the same time, and I believe he was prophesying when he made that quote. And they say, well, it's Israel was 1948, or it's Israel in 1967, or Israel. Uh, they didn't really. They just pushed them away. That's about it. They didn't gain any territory, anything like that. I think if you put the rest of the Bible together, you find out that Ezekiel 38 and 39 has a set of nations, and Psalms 83 has a set of groups or nations. Now, notice I said groups. So those groups and nations are not there in Ezekiel 38 and 39. They're missing. So those are Israel's immediate neighbors in Psalms 83. So they're missing in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Now, you think Russia is going to tell them not to be involved? No, I think Israel took them out. Now, you hear it in the news right now. Israel's talking about taking Hezbollah out completely and taking Hamas out completely. I don't know why I say Hezbollah first, because they're not even actively fighting yet. But I'm kind of telling you guys they're going to take these terrorist groups out completely, and they're not going to be no more. They're going to be taken out. And I believe if it's this year coming up, then you'll see some action. You see things happen by the fall of next year. And if the Antichrist is going to show up, I believe that the Antichrist, I said this before, I believe he's coming from Syria. After Isaiah 17, it says that Damascus is no longer a city. It should be a riverless heap. And I believe they're going to take the leadership out. They have already said that they're going to take Assad out. They're going to take the leadership out. Now, unfortunately, Assad, a lot of times the West paints these leaders as being really bad and for their people and all this other stuff, like Gaddafi, which they were doing. Lebanon was doing perfectly fine um, with Gaddafi in power. Um, and same thing with Saddam Hussein. They were doing perfectly fine. You know, they didn't need no outside person coming in, turning them, using the media to turn them into these crazy beasts that would rape their own women and burn their own kids. Um, I'm not saying I don't agree with the United States. Of course, I agree with what the president told us to do at the time, but I was still feisty. I was feisty with the first Bush, and I was feisty with the second Bush. And the first Bush, I wasn't even declaring myself as a Christian. I was drinking beer and hanging out with the fellas, and I still disagreed with the war completely. And I think that's why it's one of the reasons why I got out the first time of the Army. I got out the Army the first time because of the first Bush, and then I did not retire because of the second Bush. I just got tired of the war thing. Just war, just always war. We got to go take out the. um, so, um, I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at something else. I'm always laughing at something else that's happening around me. And it's amazing how the devil stirs up stuff. I'm not even doing anything. I just got on here just to talk to y'all personally. So I do believe that the Antichrist is not going to be anybody from Saudi Arabia. It doesn't fit. Saudi Arabia does not cover the Assyrian Empire. At least I don't think it does. Syria is Assyria. Syria is Syria. You have Antiochus Epiphanes, and he was the leader of the Assyrian Empire, and he ruled out of Syria. He didn't rule out of Saudi Arabia. He barely ruled out of Turkey. I mean, yeah. So there's a possibility that the Antichrist could be the next leader of Syria. Now, is Israel going to worship somebody that's not Christian or not Jewish? I don't think the Bible never said the whole country of Israel worships the Antichrist. It never said that. Matter of fact, most of them head to Petra before the mark of the beast even comes. So when the mark of the beast comes, they're footing it to Petra, and a good amount of Israel's a small country, a small people, but a good amount of those people will be saved. But compared to the numbers now, a small remnant is going to be saved. So, I'm just looking at, how the whole world's going to come against Israel. It's going to come against its people. And the Bible says it's going to come again in Revelation chapter 12 when it talks about the women with a crown of 12 stars over her head and a moon at her feet. Well, it says that she went into the mountain and hid, but her baby was caught up. It was caught up to heaven. And so when you look at that, you kind of, a lot of the church believe that that's Israel. I'm sorry, a lot of the church believe that's Mary and Jesus. But Jesus wasn't caught up, and then Mary was hid in the hills. Mary